Can we talk about something that happens in almost every aerial class, but nobody really names? So, you know those memes where the instructor says, use your left hand, and you use your right. Then they say, no, use the other left hand, and you still somehow end up using your right. That's not a joke about being bad at directions. That is real. And I want to give it a name because once you can name a thing, you can actually work with it instead of just being completely frustrated by it. I like to call it body static because you're standing there, you can see exactly what the instructor is doing. You can clearly hear the actual words coming out of their mouth, but yet your body just doesn't seem to understand it like it's a foreign language. It's like the signal isn't getting through cleanly. There's this interference. And the real term for it is motor interference because it's what happens when an old pattern and a new one are both trying to fire through the same neural pathway at the same time. And neither one actually wins. But I like to call it body static because that's what it feels like from the inside. Static on a line, and nothing seems to be coming through clearly. And it looks like this. You walk in knowing a move, right? You don't even have to think about it. It just happens. Your body just naturally flows into it. Then the instructor shows you a different way to get into the move. And instead of adding that to what you already know, something short circuits. And your mind wants to do the new way, but your body keeps defaulting to the old way. And then this is the part that frustrates the ever-loving shit out of me. Suddenly, you can't even do it the way you've always done anymore. It is like that move has left your body and the entire building. If this has happened to you, I want you to know, me too. You're not being difficult and you're not wrong. It's just that the new way and the old way are colliding, and a 5-minute demo is not going to override months and maybe even years of body or muscle memory. And sometimes it takes the rest of the class, sometimes it may take weeks or months after. And let's be real, sometimes you will never get that move or that transition into the move because maybe it sends your brain into this danger, Will Rogers mode every time you think about it. Oh my God, I am afraid that I just completely showed my age with that last reference. Or it can be as simple as it not being a move or transition you even care to have in your little book of tricks. I'm going to say that I have this knee hook that from the outside doesn't look correct or secure as I've been told, but it's mine. I've built it to fit how my legs actually bend and rotate and move in and out of knee hooks and transitions, and I feel completely secure in it. So when someone tries to correct it without asking first whether I feel safe in it, this is another point where friction and that body static can start because it's not that I don't have the capacity to learn a different way. But what is really happening in that moment is that what's being asked doesn't compute with what I have grown as my body awareness to accommodate the way my knee hooks and my body moves, and that I already trust is safe. And here's what I think it goes left or gets lost on both sides. Instructors aren't pushing away because they think it's the only way. It's because they want you to be more well-rounded, more adaptable, to not only rely only on one way of doing something. And that comes from a real place of caring and experience. But sometimes when a student doesn't get it in that moment, that's not always resistance or a time to really push on the move. Sometimes it's just not there yet, and maybe not at all. And neither one of those things are a failure, I couldn't think of the word, a failure on your part or theirs. In that moment when a move is trying to be really reinforced and taught and it's just not clicking, sometimes we have to step back on both sides and take into account that what is being seen as something that will make you a better aerialist may in fact be pushing you to become a bitter aerialist. And students, myself included, sometimes we push back on something and call it, this doesn't work for me, or I just can't do this, when we really haven't sat with it long enough, or it's just something that doesn't feel good or align with how we flow. And so we avoid it. And that's not wrong, but it is worth being honest about. I am always going to be completely honest that I am just not a static or dynamic move type of aerialist that likes to be close to the ground. Will I learn it in class? Yes, and sometimes with a little groaning and surprise that it wasn't that bad. I'm only human, what can I say? But will I be incorporating it into my practice and really pushing for it? Probably not, and that's okay, because that's not a failure either. Because here's the thing, forcing a body through something that doesn't fit isn't always discipline. Many times it's self-sabotage dressed up as growth. And we have to know the difference, because not knowing the difference is where we start turning from, or we start engaging in things that aren't actually making us a better aerialist. It's making us a bitter aerialist. And I am looking dead at you, brass monkey. So I'm not asking this to pit one side against the other. I'm asking it because I think if we said the quiet parts out loud about what's actually happening in that moment of confusion on both sides, we'd have a lot less frustration and a lot more understanding of not only the physical, but the mental and emotional processes that coincide with it. So here is actually what I want to know. On the instructor side, have you noticed that sometimes pushing for a breakthrough or really pushing a move sometimes does the opposite? Do you have a sense of when a student's body memory is running the show, even when they don't realize it? And have you asked your students what they want to get out of their aerial experience? Are they even wanting to advance levels, to compete, to perform? Or are they just there for fun and community? Students, has there been a time you have pushed back on a move and later realized it wasn't that your body couldn't do it, it just wasn't ready yet, or you were limiting yourself? Have you been open with yourself and your instructor about what it is you actually want to get out of your aerial practice? I'll use myself for an example. My first love was pole. I wanted to do all the moves. I wanted to be seen as a professional poler. I wanted to perform publicly. But over time, I realized that pole is my grounding space, where my flow and sensuality are all mine and no one else's, and it doesn't need to be visible beyond what I share online. Lyra, on the other hand, I would love to perform publicly and even teach a calming, sensual flow maybe one day. And so knowing these things gives me clarity on what I need to push through on so that I have the discipline, practice, and versatility that will get me to where I need to be. And it also gives me the clarity on what I can step back on and not push and force, because it's just not something that's important to me. Okay, so I want to hear about both genuinely. So drop it in the comments and I'll be reading.